Hello, and welcome to today's lesson. What we're going to work on here today is really quickly, how can we add a test code into a quiz situation? So right here, I've got a bunch of quizzes set up, and one thing that you can always do for availability for students is in your settings, you can have it enabled, disabled, you can have it enabled from a start and end time. But, it's kind of tedious to always go in and change these pieces from one class to the next, one semester to the next. So one thing that we've learned in building courses for Tonka Online is we've learned that inside your test, what we can actually do, and this is inside what we call our test folder, we can build a test code. So a test code is just a one question Schoology quiz, and we call it what it is. It's a test code. It's going to allow us to be able to lock a test until we want students to open it up. We usually set it as an ungraded assessment, and then we're creating the test code. And it's going to be a one question quiz. And the quiz is a fill in the blank, and it's a quick question of enter the test code here. And when we're doing a fill in the blank, once we've entered that in, right next to the 0, we're just going to enter that blank space, and it allows us, and we can put any test code we want. Here I'm just going to go with a nice generic 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I've got this set up. Enter the test code here. I enter in whatever I want the code to be, and you can always go back into this question and change it from hour to hour, semester to semester, year to year. So you can just go in and change this one piece without having to go back and change, I want it open from this time to this time. If we set the test code, that takes care of it for us. Now, one of the most common issues with building a test code is not adjusting the settings for that one question situation. Now, one thing I've learned in doing these, one, we want to make sure it's enabled. Usually don't set in a time limit, but one thing I've found is give students a couple attempts. For some reason, typing in a 4-digit number can be an issue. Or they try to enter a number and they don't know what the test code is. So by giving them 2 attempts, highest score, we don't have to randomize order. We don't have to adjust any of these other pieces. You might want them to be able to review their question to make sure that they've entered the number incorrectly, and then we save those changes. So now I have that test code quiz built out, and then I'm going to put it in order of what I want it to lock. So I want that test code to lock all 3 of these quizzes. In some cases, you're just going to be locking one quiz. And once I have it organized in the way I want it set, I go to this Options tab, and you're allowed to do what we call a student completion rule. So you want to make sure that they have to be completed in order, and then we can add our requirements. So for this test code, I want a student to score 100%. Okay, they need to get the test code right in order to move into their next pieces. And then, the next piece I want them to go into, do I want them to make a specific score? So score at least a 75 on the R2s before they can go into their R3 questions. And here they have to make a submission, and then finally they get their extra credit or bonus question, which is the R4, and making a submission there. So now these are all set in order. They have to get the test code right before any of these pieces will be allowed to be opened as they go through their material. So now if we want to look at what it would look like, from a student perspective, okay, they would click into the test code, I'll show the preview here. Start the new attempt. They would just type in their test code 1234, review their answer. Since this is a preview, it's not saved. So they would submit, and then once they submit at this stage, then they're allowed in the folder to move to the next piece. This gray part would be now turned green, which would allow them to go into their test, and then they could open up their test and get those questions next. And then you can always set a timer there. If you don't want the test open forever, you can set a time limit on that so they know that they only have, in this case, 20 minutes to go through and complete their 8 questions. So that was a real quick tutorial on how to set up a test code for a Schoology quiz. Thank you and have a good day.